Hello everyone. The Star Wars fandom is divided like never before. It is a period of civil war. Although I had many problems with The Last Jedi, I still wanted to see what Solo, a Star Wars story, had to offer. Rogue One, I didn't have a problem with. I actually liked it. So maybe the side stories aren't so bad, I figured. Maybe it's just the main movies that are the problem. I wasn't participating in the boycott. I feel like I needed to actually watch each movie and give them a fair judgment. I wasn't so interested in Solo necessarily. I didn't have too many high expectations for it, but I'm still a Star Wars fan after all, and it's my hope that the movies they produce are good. I don't want to be disappointed in Star Wars movies all the time. I want them to eventually get better again. However, I don't know if they'll even interpret the real reason why the Solo box numbers are drastically low. Here's a hint. It's not because of Solo. It's because of The Last Jedi and how it split the fandom. But yes, I did go see the movie, and here I'll be giving my thoughts on it. Be advised, we are entering spoiler territory. Okay? Everybody gone who doesn't want to be spoiled? Good. Okay, so as I said, I watched Solo, and much to my surprise, I actually genuinely liked it. For the first time going into a Star Wars movie in this new era, I was more than half expecting it to be trash, to be honest. Because I just don't really trust them in this new Disney era anymore. But the movie was actually really good. The plot to me was interesting. The twists and whatnot were believable yet not too obvious. I was surprised several times anyway. It's like when you think you know something, there's still a twist you probably don't expect, and I like that. As we all assumed they would do, they addressed many of the things Han has talked about before. We saw the Kessel Run and how they dealt with the fact that a parsec is a unit of distance, not time. We saw how he and Lando Calrissian met, which one criticism I do have with this movie is, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I kind of had the impression before that Han and Lando were friends at one point and that they had a falling out and didn't see each other again until episode 5. If I'm wrong about that, then okay, that's not really a fair criticism. In which case, they actually did it pretty well, since that was my main thing as far as them I didn't really care for. The actor's portrayal, I felt, was also pretty good. I didn't think this actor really seemed like Han Solo much at all before watching the movie, and while I do say he wasn't acting as Harrison Ford, his interpretation of a younger Han wasn't bad actually. There were some scenes, like when he was trying to fake out Enfy's nest saying they had some troops there and then Lando flies away on the Falcon making it obvious he was lying. That felt really like something Han would do. So I can believe that this character is Han Solo. As far as Lando, much respect to Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, Childish Landino. He's a great talent and I think he did pretty good as Lando. I guess he didn't seem like as much of a good guy. Like, I know Lando was never the best of the best, but it seemed a little off, but that's really a writing thing. And he doesn't really look much like Lando, but aside from that, I felt his acting was good. And he did a good job imitating Billy D. Williams' mannerisms and talking patterns. We got to see how he met Chewbacca. I've got to say, I did have some issues with his origin, like I was looking for how Chewie got into his life debt with Han. But I was reminded in another video that that hasn't been mentioned in the canon yet. So maybe there is no life debt now. They're just together because they're friends, which, I mean, is fine, but it seems a bit unnecessary of a rewrite. I do like that Han spoke to Chewie in his own language instead of just the other way around for once. Chewie's acting, of course, was great in this movie. Hats off to him. Now, another thing I didn't really care for was how Han got his name. In the old expanded universe, Han was not the first of his name. There was the House of Solo, with ancestors all the way back potentially to the Corellian royal family. But now that's been changed, so he's called Solo simply because he told an Imperial that he was alone and had no one, so he called him Solo. I don't really care for that much personally. Like it's not that bad of a thing, but I'm not too big of a fan of that. I've heard a lot of people criticizing L3, and while she was a bit much sometimes, my reaction was basically the same as Lando's was in the movie. Not really mad at her, but like, we ain't got time for this type of thing. I don't think she was that bad. I did like what they did with Qi'ra in this movie. When Han first bumped into her at the party, I was like, oh no, she's gonna think we're just out here partying it up while forgetting about her back at Corellia. And Han tells her he's really been trying to get back to her all this time, and I can't really tell if she believes him or not, but it doesn't look good. Either way, they don't seem to be on bad terms necessarily, so that's good. Definitely you can tell something is off though. You can't really tell if she's in love with him anymore or not. As the movie goes on, it seems she definitely still cares for Han, at least. She knows he's a good man and part of her may still love him, but she's seen too much. She's done too much. She's become too much. She can't be with him. And instead of using her opportunity to go and be with him, she decides to basically take over Dryden Voss's place as the leader of Crimson Dawn. Although, as mentioned before, even he has to answer to someone, and turns out it's none other than Darth Maul. Dun dun dun! Or rather, formerly Darth, now just Maul. And they really wanted you to have no doubts that this was Darth Maul. Him in a hood being mysterious wasn't enough. He, for some reason, had his saber off to the side and needed to use the Force to grab it, which of course was a double-bladed red lightsaber, and he had robot legs to address the fact that we saw him get cut in half in Episode 1. Now, if you've watched Star Wars The Clone Wars and or Star Wars Rebels, you'll know a lot more about this. Maul came back, I believe, in 2012, and was restored by the Night Sisters, and has basically been trying to claw his way back up to power ever since losing his apprenticeship to the most powerful being in the galaxy, or as he views it, being betrayed and abandoned. His hatred for Kenobi kept him going. Also, you'll notice if you've seen Rebels that his lightsaber is an Inquisitor's lightsaber that he's now using. But yeah, it's no surprise that Maul is out here working as a crime lord. As I said, he's trying to claw his way up to power and to get his revenge. I think it was really cool to see him personally. So yeah, it would also be kind of weird if you haven't watched Clone Wars and Rebels and all that, and you're just seeing Maul back for the first time. You may be like, what? They brought him back? Yeah, that's really neat. That's a nice little wow factor they added at the end. I personally liked Darth Maul, and I thought when they got rid of him in Episode 1, Episode 1 got rid of two great characters, I feel prematurely, Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul, which at the time, it was useful to get rid of them, but, I suppose they realized Darth Maul could have a lot more use in him, and they decided to bring him back, which personally, I'm fine with. But yeah, to sum it all up, I thought Solo was a very enjoyable movie, especially when comparing it to the sequel trilogy, and in particular, Episode 8. There were good twists, good action, and it felt pretty Star Wars to me. Some things I didn't quite like how Han got his name and some of the dynamics between Han and Lando, but all in all, I would recommend this movie. The low numbers it's doing, I believe, is not due to it being a bad movie. It's due to the state of the fandom after The Last Jedi, and I hope Disney sees that. And I don't believe it's being due to too many Star Wars movies either. Some people are worried about an oversaturation problem. I personally have no problem with a Star Wars movie coming out every year. Give me more Star Wars. I love it. Marvel makes movies all the time, and people watch them every year. But what I don't want is for them to have deleted a whole rich expanded universe of Star Wars, a whole beautiful system of stories all throughout Star Wars Legends, the expanded universe, just to fill it in with trash. That's what makes me upset. Just because it says Star Wars doesn't mean it is Star Wars. You guys know what I mean. The philosophy, the style of George Lucas, the spark that makes Star Wars has mostly been lost in the sequel trilogy, and the only one I really trust there who has Lucas's vision is Dave Filoni, and I hope he's given creative control. However, the side movies haven't been doing that bad. I've enjoyed both Rogue One and Solo so far, so whatever they're doing differently with those, I hope they keep it up and improve on it further. So yeah, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching. Please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons on your way to your next adventures for the day. And this has been Jeroogalo, and may the force be with you all, always.